It happened in a way nobody expected. Cameras were rolling, the studio lights were warm and steady, and the atmosphere felt like any other live broadcast where Yaman was supposed to smile, answer questions, and leave behind another polished public appearance. But that night, something inside him cracked. It wasn't the question that broke him, it was the weight of everything he had been carrying for years, everything he had kept silent, everything he had tried to bury. When the host casually asked, "Is there someone you regret losing?" the entire studio froze for a split second. Even the audience watching from their homes felt the air tighten. Because the expression on Can's face changed instantly. He wasn't the charming actor anymore. He wasn't the confident, charismatic man who always controlled the room. He looked like someone who had been fighting an internal storm, someone who had rehearsed thousands of ways not to fall apart, but had finally reached the moment where resisting wasn't possible anymore. His eyes dropped, his breath became uneven, and for a few seconds he didn't speak. The host tried to soften the question, but it was too late. The memory had already surfaced. And when he finally lifted his head, his voice cracked, not from weakness, but from the kind of pain you can't hide even if the whole world is watching. "Yes," he whispered. "There is someone I lost, someone I should have fought for. Someone who truly loved me." The silence that followed was unbearable. No one dared interrupt him. No one dared breathe too loudly. Because it wasn't just a confession, it was a man breaking in real time, in front of millions. He tried to smile, but the smile trembled. He tried to stay composed, but his voice betrayed him. "I didn't realize what she meant to me until she was gone," he continued, each word heavier than the one before. "I thought I had more time. I thought she would always be there. But I was wrong." The camera zoomed in, capturing the pain carved into his expression. His eyes glistened, not with the controlled, cinematic sadness people often see in TV dramas, but with raw, unfiltered heartbreak. A kind of heartbreak that only appears when you speak about the only person who ever loved you without asking for anything in return. "She loved me for who I was," he said quietly. "Not for my career. Not for the fame. Not for the image everyone knows. She loved the real me, the parts one don't show anyone." People in the studio shifted in their seats, uncomfortable not because he was emotional, but because he was honest, too honest for a live show. The crew behind the cameras exchanged glances, unsure if they should cut to commercial. But the director didn't. Something told him the world needed to hear this. And he needed to say it. "I pushed her away when all she did was stay," he admitted. "And now I lost the only woman who truly loved me." His voice broke completely on the last words. He wasn't trying to act. He wasn't trying to protect his reputation. He wasn't trying to pretend he was fine. For the first time in years, Yaman let the world see the truth. Behind the fame, behind the noise, behind the perfect image, was a man grieving the one person who understood him deeper than anyone else ever would. The studio didn't know what to do with the silence he left behind. It wasn't the normal kind of silence that follows a dramatic answer. This was heavier, like the air itself had thickened, like every sound had been swallowed by the weight of his confession. Even the audience members who had come expecting laughter, light-hearted questions, and the usual celebrity charm now sat frozen, unsure whether they should look away out of respect or stare because something so raw was unfolding in front of them. But Can didn't stop. It was as if once the first truth slipped out, everything he had been hiding for years demanded to be said. He leaned back in his chair, exhaled shakily, and wiped the corner of his eye with the kind of gesture that wasn't meant for cameras, just instinct, just a man trying to hold himself together. "You know," he said, voice softer now, "people think I'm unbreakable. They think I'm this strong, untouchable figure who doesn't feel anything. But that's not true." His voice wavered, and he paused again. The host tried to offer him a comforting smile, but even she was visibly shaken. This wasn't the interview she prepared for. And this wasn't the version of Yaman the world was used to. This was the man behind the curtain, tired, bruised, unexpectedly vulnerable. "The truth is, I haven't been the same since she left, he continued. I still check my phone sometimes, hoping for a message that will never come. I still wake up thinking maybe she'll forgive me. But she doesn't owe me that. There was something haunting about the way he spoke, like he wasn't just telling a story, but reliving the exact pain he felt the day she walked away. His fingers tapped nervously on his knee, a subtle tremor that exposed how much he was holding back. She asked me for one thing, he confessed. Just one. To be honest with her. To give her the real version of myself. And I couldn't do it. He swallowed hard, regret tightening his throat. I was scared. Scared of being vulnerable. Scared of being loved that deeply. Scared that if she saw the parts of me I hide, she would run. He smiled painfully. But the truth is, she was the only one who would have stayed. The director still refused to cut to a commercial. Something about the moment felt too real, too important. Social media was already exploding. Clips of his trembling voice, screenshots of his teary eyes, everything was being shared at light speed. But Ken didn't care about the cameras anymore. He continued speaking like the world had disappeared, like he was finally telling himself the truth he'd been avoiding. People ask me all the time why I haven't moved on, he said. They don't understand that when someone loves you that honestly, that deeply, you don't just replace them. You can't. He took a long breath, but it didn't steady him. If anything, it made the next words even harder. She gave me light, he whispered. And I gave her confusion. She gave me her heart, and I gave her doubts. She deserved someone who wasn't scared to hold her hand in the dark. His voice cracked again, and almost in a whisper, he added, I wish I had been that man. The host gently placed her hand on the table, a silent gesture telling him he didn't need to continue if it hurt too much. But he shook his head. No, he said. This is the first time I'm saying what I should have said a long time ago. I lost her because I couldn't show her that I loved her back. And now, his eyes filled again, and the room felt like it pulsed with that pain. Now I have to live with the fact that I let the only woman who truly loved me walk away. He looked down, almost defeated, almost like the weight of every unsent message and every unspoken apology had finally crushed him. And at that moment, the world wasn't watching a celebrity, it was watching a man who had finally admitted the truth he feared most. He didn't lose her by accident. He lost her by silence. No one in the studio dared to interrupt him anymore. What began as a normal interview had turned into something no one could have predicted, a man confronting the truth he had been running from, live, with millions of people watching. The cameras kept rolling, but even the crew seemed to forget they were making a show. It no longer felt like entertainment, it felt like witnessing a collapse that had been years in the making. Ken took another deep breath, but it didn't calm him. His chest was rising and falling too quickly, the way it does when someone tries not to cry but fails. And when he finally lifted his eyes, everyone could see it, he wasn't just sad. He was broken. You know what hurts the most, he said quietly, like the words were knives he had to push through. It's not that she left, it's that I gave her every reason to. That line hit the room like thunder. Even the host pressed her lips together, as if holding back her own emotions. Ken's eyes drifted somewhere far away, somewhere only he could see, a place filled with memories that clearly haunted him. There were nights she stayed up waiting for me, he continued. Nights when all she wanted was a message, a call, a sign that she mattered more to me than the noise around my life. He rubbed his hands together, a gesture of someone fighting guilt that had eaten them alive. But I was too proud. Too distant. Too scared to admit how much I needed her. He let out a heavy exhale. She was the one person who saw everything I hid. The anger. The insecurities. The exhaustion. And instead of running, she tried to love me through it. His voice trembled again. But I didn't let her. The studio lights felt harsher now, reflecting off the tears gathering in his eyes. He wiped one away quickly, embarrassed, but there was no hiding it anymore. I remember the night she walked away, he said. I didn't chase her. I thought she'd come back, like she always did. She had such a soft heart, and I took advantage of it. I thought she'd forgive me again. He shook his head painfully. But that night, she didn't. The memory alone seemed to crush him. She turned around, he whispered, and there was something in her eyes, something I had never seen before. She wasn't angry. She wasn't jealous. She wasn't hurt. He paused, swallowing hard. She was done. The silence after that sentence was suffocating. His fingers tightened into fists, not out of anger but regret. You don't realize the value of someone who loves you without conditions, he continued, voice breaking, until you see the moment they decide to stop fighting for you. The audience in the studio sat motionless, unable to look away. People at home were holding their breath. No one expected this level of truth, not from him, not Liv, not this openly. I told myself I was too busy, he said. Too overwhelmed. Too focused on my career. But the truth? He looked straight into the camera. I was just too afraid to let myself be loved the way she loved me. He blinked hard, trying to hold the tears back. And I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. The host tried to offer a gentle out, a way to redirect the conversation, but Ken shook his head before she could even speak. I need to say this, he insisted softly. Because maybe she'll see it. Maybe she'll know that I didn't stop loving her. I just didn't know how to show it. His breathing grew unsteady again. People think heartbreak is dramatic or glamorous. It's not. It's waking up at 3 a.m. wishing you had one more chance. It's hearing her name and pretending it doesn't hurt. It's scrolling through old photos you should have deleted but can't. It's seeing her laugh in a video with her friends and realizing someone else might be making her smile now. One tear escaped despite his effort to hold it back. And I deserve that pain, he whispered. Because I let her go. The camera stayed locked on him. The world stayed locked on him. And that's when everyone realized, this wasn't a publicity moment, or a scripted confession, or a dramatic TV stunt. This was a man admitting, for the first time in his life, that he had broken the heart that once protected his. By now, the entire atmosphere of the studio had completely changed. It didn't feel like a talk show anymore. It didn't feel like entertainment. It felt like a confession booth, one where a man who had built his reputation on strength, control, and perfection was finally collapsing under the truth he had buried for far too long. The host shifted slightly in her seat, her posture softening, her voice quiet as if she was afraid to break him even further. But Ken wasn't looking at her. He wasn't looking at the cameras either. He was staring at the floor, at his hands, at the invisible pieces of himself he was trying to pick up. She used to tell me, he began softly, that all she wanted was for me to meet her halfway. He smiled sadly at the memory, one of those smiles filled with pain instead of joy. But I kept making her walk the entire distance alone. She did everything. She carried the relationship, she carried me, she carried all the weight I was too selfish or too scared to shoulder. His voice trembled again. And I didn't even say thank you. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, as if the memory itself was bending him. There were so many moments, he said, so many little moments that should have told me she was slipping away. She stopped texting first. She stopped waiting up for me. She stopped trying to talk about the future. He exhaled slowly, painfully. But I was blind. I thought her silence meant we were okay. That she was just tired. I didn't realize her silence was her last cry for help. One of the producers signaled from behind the camera, asking the host if they should go to a commercial break, but she shook her head. Nobody wanted to interrupt this moment, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Painfully, brutally real. I remember the last message she sent me, he continued. It wasn't long. It wasn't emotional. It was just a simple wish. He swallowed, voice cracking. I hope you find what you're looking for. He closed his eyes briefly, the weight of that sentence visibly crushing him. But what she didn't know was, I already found it. I just didn't realize it was her. The audience remained frozen, some even wiping tears. The world wasn't used to seeing him like this, not the superstar, not the heartthrob, not the international sensation. This was a man stripped of every layer of pride, speaking like someone who had finally run out of excuses. People always tell me I look strong, he whispered. But I wasn't strong with her. I was fragile. And instead of admitting it, I hid behind anger, behind distance, behind work. His breath shook as he continued. But she saw right through me. That's what scared me the most. He rubbed his palms together in a slow, nervous motion. She once told me she loved my flaws, he said almost in disbelief. Can you imagine that? Someone loving you not because you're perfect, but because you're imperfect in the exact way that fits theirs? He chuckled faintly, but it was hollow, empty. And I pushed her away because I thought I didn't deserve something so pure. The host finally spoke, her voice soft, almost trembling. Do you think you'll ever reach out to her? Try to fix things? But Ken didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned back, staring at the ceiling as if trying not to drown in the emotions flooding him. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. I don't know if she'd want to hear from me, he said. I don't know if she'd even pick up. Maybe she's healed. Maybe she's moved on. Maybe she's with someone who shows her the love I never had the courage to give. His jaw tightened. Maybe that's what she deserved all along. There was a long pause, one of those silences that feels like a wound. But, he whispered, if she's watching this, if she can hear me. I want her to know something. His eyes glistened again. I never stopped loving her. Not for a second. And losing her, it didn't just teach me a lesson. It broke something inside me. His voice cracked completely. She was the only woman who truly loved me. And I let her go. By this point, the interview was no longer about projects, premieres, or future roles. It had transformed into something almost sacred, a rare moment where a man who had always been seen as untouchable allowed the world to witness his deepest regret. The cameras were still running, but they no longer felt like tools of entertainment. They felt like witnesses. And on the other side of those lenses, millions of people were watching, some in tears, some in shock, some suddenly recognizing their own mistakes in his words. I used to think love was a distraction, Ken said slowly, as if each memory was heavy in his mouth. Something that would get in the way of my goals. My dreams. My career. He let out a shaky breath. But now I realize the truth. None of this, he gestured vaguely around him, to the lights, the cameras, the stage, means anything if you go home at night and feel empty. The host nodded, her eyes glossy. She didn't try to steer the conversation away. She didn't try to lighten the mood or change the subject. She understood what everyone in that room felt. This wasn't the time for jokes. This wasn't the time for scripted questions. This was the time to let him speak. She believed in me before the world did, he continued, voice thickening again. When I doubted myself, she pushed me to keep going. When I was exhausted, she reminded me why I started. She saw me at my worst and still chose to stay. His lips trembled. And what did I do? I made her feel like she was always coming second. Second to work. Second to obligations. Second to everything except my own ego. He paused, looking down at his hands, as though they were guilty too. I remember one night, he said, his voice dropping almost to a whisper. We had plans. Just the two of us. No cameras, no events, no obligations. She was so happy. She had cooked. She had set the table. She even lit candles. He swallowed hard. And I cancelled. Last minute. For an event I don't even remember now. The audience shifted uncomfortably, feeling the weight of the moment. She didn't yell, he went on. She didn't accuse me. She just said, "It's okay, I understand. You're busy." But her eyes told me everything she never said out loud. He shook his head slowly, guilt etched into every line of his face. I told myself I was doing it all for us. That every sacrifice, every missed dinner, every broken plan would one day make sense because I was building a future. A bitter half-smile tugged at his mouth. But what kind of future is that, if the person you're supposedly doing it for is slowly disappearing from your life? The host leaned in slightly, her voice gentle. Do you think you loved her the way she loved you? The question hung in the air like a blade. Ken didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened, and for a moment it seemed like he might shut down, hide behind the safe, controlled image the public knew. But he didn't. Not this time. No, he finally said, and the word came out like a confession he'd been terrified to face. I didn't love her the way she loved me. Not because I didn't feel it, but because I didn't know how to show it. She loved loudly. I loved in silence. She showed up. I pulled away. She chose us every day. I chose myself. The honesty hit like a wave. There was no excuse in his tone, no attempt to justify his behavior. Just truth. Raw and unpolished. She once told me, he continued, that love is not about grand gestures or promises. It's about consistency. About being there. About making someone feel safe. And instead of making her feel safe, I made her feel alone, even when she was right beside me. He blinked back the tears that were gathering again, but they kept coming. You know, he said, voice breaking, I've played so many characters who fight for love, who run through airports, who show up in the rain, who give big speeches to win someone back. He laughed sadly, a hollow, fragile sound. But in real life? When it really mattered? I stayed still. I stayed silent. The irony of his words cut through the room. A man who had become famous playing heroes in love stories admitting that in his own story, he hadn't been the hero at all. If I could go back, he whispered, I wouldn't choose another role, another project, another spotlight. I'd choose her. I'd choose the nights she cried and pretended she was fine. I'd choose the conversations I avoided.